Okay, today we're taking a look at the latest addition to Carbon's TruFoam series, their very first hybrid paddle, the TruFoam Genesis 4. And if you've seen any of my other videos, you probably already know this is my favorite paddle shape, so I'm stoked to see Carbon finally embrace it and bring it into their lineup. And I hope it's the first of many hybrids Carbon releases, since I'm sure they're going to continue expanding their TruFoam offerings and vary the power and touch. I just hope this shape will be included in the initial launches moving forward. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty about the Genesis 4, I wanted to let you know Carbon is letting me give one of these babies away for free. So be sure to stick around until the end of the video to see how to enter. And if you want to get a head start, you can go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Also, if you really want to stay on top of all the latest when it comes to pickleball gear news and updates, including some of the stranger stuff a lot of the other reviewers aren't talking about, you should definitely check out and subscribe to my podcast, Is This a Pickleball Podcast with Matthew K. Pickleball. And sometimes the cutest pug in the world swings by, so for no other reason than to get some pug love, you should definitely check it out. And Buffy really likes to snort, so there's some great ASMR potential for folks listening in their cars. You can catch all the latest episodes here on YouTube as well as on all the major podcast platforms. And now let's talk specs and paddle design really quickly. First off, the Genesis 4 utilizes Carbon's TruFoam tech. So it's a full foam paddle with a Gen 4 build. And Carbon claims the core is made from a proprietary foam that's not EVA or PMI and was actually inspired by the surf industry, which isn't surprising since they're based close to me out here in SoCal. And if you want more info on this design, definitely check out my big line overview from a while back. I go into a ton of detail as well as cover the other shapes in the TruFoam Genesis series. As for the Genesis 4, it's a 14mm paddle like the rest of the line, except it's Carbon's new hybrid shape, which is 16.2 by 7.8 inches. So it's got similar dimensions to some of the other really popular hybrids like the Honolulu J2K and the 6.0 Double Black Diamond. And for me, the balance point and sweet spot positioning felt just like what I'm used to. However, the actual core feels super unique as it's made differently from traditional Gen 2 and Gen 3 paddles, and we're going to talk more about that in a bit. That being said, part of what makes this paddle's touch and feel so unique is the fact that Carbon is utilizing a piece of fiberglass beneath its carbon fiber face layup. But once again, we'll get into that in a little bit. As for the handle, Carbon is now measuring them closer to 5.5 inches with a 4.125 inch circumference grip. And they aim for a static weight around 8.1 ounces with a target swing weight in the 106 to 108 range. And according to documents Carbon provided, that makes it the lowest powered paddle on paper in the TruFoam Genesis line by quite a bit. Additionally, they have a target twist weight of 6.58, which puts it between the standard shapes TruFoam Genesis 2's 6.75 target twist weight and the stretched out TruFoam 3's target 6.21 twist weight. Lastly, this paddle does come with a nice neoprene paddle cover, a 1-year manufacturing defects warranty, as well as a 30-day return window. So Carbon is standing behind both the durability of their paddles as well as betting you'll be happy with your purchase with that 30-day trial. As for price, Carbon is currently utilizing promo codes, and you can use either promo code MatthewK or MatthewK10 to save 10%, making the TruFoam Genesis 4 $252. And this paddle is USAP approved and future approved with PB Core 43 certification, as well as approved by the UPAA. And for me, this paddle performs super similarly to the other Genesis shapes I've already reviewed that were released earlier this year, but with a balance point and hand speed closer to what I'm used to as someone that plays mostly with hybrids. It also reminded me a lot of the Honolulu J2 FC Plus, especially when it comes to power and pop on shorter hits. If you're someone that likes to attack balls and be quick to return, this and the J2 FC Plus are the ones to look at. And in my opinion, they both play more aggressively in the short game than some of the other popular Gen 4 paddles like the Honolulu J2 NF and the most recent Gearbox paddles. However, this is subjective with a lot of factors at play. And for the Genesis paddles in particular, I really think this boost in firepower compared to its counterparts on the market has to do in part with Carbon utilizing a small piece of fiberglass close to the paddle's core, which really heightens this paddle's pop and put away power. I also think this paddle has a higher ball trajectory or flight path than a lot of the other paddles out right now because of how the ball is absorbed and then pushed off the paddle head. You can really notice this effect with softer balls in particular, like Franklin X40s, but it's less noticeable with poppy hard balls like some of the new Vulcan balls. And while I do think that patch of stiff fiberglass acting as a backboard is definitely a factor, I think the Genesis layup is potentially the design feature that's really impacting the ball's flight path when it launches off the paddle head. John Q has noted the Genesis paddles utilize 5 layers of carbon fiber. So that, with that fiberglass patch, means a total of 6 layers between the ball and the core, presuming you're hitting in the sweet spot. And I definitely think that impacts how the ball fires off or jumps off the paddle. I talked quite a bit about this in a recent podcast episode for anyone curious. In the past, I used to describe this as launch angle, but that has really confused folks, and I think ball trajectory or flight path might be better descriptors. So for the Genesis 4, you'll notice the ball has a relatively higher flight path. In other words, the ball flies higher over the net, all things equal, with your stroke compared to a similar Gen 4 paddle like the Honolulu J2NF, which has a more traditional face layup of 3 layers. 2 layers of carbon fiber with a middle layer of fiberglass. So a lot fewer layers and without a super stiffened sweet spot. But once again, the Genesis paddle's higher flight path is most noticeable with softer balls that dwell on the paddle head longer and less so with stiffer balls that launch off quicker. And for me, I actually play a lot with softer Franklin balls, so I ended up muting the pop of the Genesis 4 a bit and effectively lowering the flight path by adding a little tungsten at the throat. In this instance, I used 3 grams of Bodie's tungsten tape right here on the taper, and if you haven't used this to tune your paddle before, it's definitely worth grabbing some. Promo code Matthew K will get you the best price over at Bodie. And once I tuned this paddle to my liking, I really found myself enjoying the Genesis 4. In fact, I prefer it over the Honolulu J2 FC Plus as I think it's a bit easier to control with more predictable touch. And between this and the Honolulu J2NF, it's really a choice between what style of play you prefer. If you want more pop, the Genesis 4 is the one to look at. If you want more control, the NF would be the one. But all in all, the Genesis 4 is a great addition to Carbon's arsenal, and I just hope they fully embrace this shape, and we see it included with all of their new paddle releases. As for who should get this paddle, I think it's a great choice for someone that prefers hybrids, that wants a full foam paddle with a great warranty and return policy, that demands a high pop paddle with a cushioned feel. That combo in particular is pretty tricky to find, especially in a controllable package. And while I wouldn't go as far as saying that this paddle is a rocket launcher in the short game, it does play very aggressively in my opinion. And I especially think it's a great choice if you're someone that plays with poppier balls in particular. If you're playing with super soft balls though, you might find yourself needing to customize it a bit to lower the launch path, as its thick face layup and soft core build definitely impact dwell time. But once again, this is most noticeable with stiffer balls. As for value, Carbon has always been at the higher end when it comes to price. And that's probably part of the reason they're always on the vanguard when it comes to tech. They account for the cost of innovation into their product pricing. So while $252 after promo code Matthew K or Matthew K10 knocks off that 10% is up there, you are supporting a company that is clearly investing into R&D and pushing the game forward, as well as getting a great warranty and return policy. So with that in mind, I do think Carbon is a great company to support. However, if you're on a strict budget, definitely dig around on the channel as I cover a lot of paddles that do cost less and some that do have some similar qualities. However, Carbon's TruFoam paddles are very unique and I've yet to see another company completely replicate their formula. So Carbon really is able to name their price. I'm just happy they kept it under the $333 mark. And that's all I've got. If you watched until the end, definitely leave a comment and let me know your thoughts on what Carbon is up to. Do you have one of their paddles? Would you consider getting one? And before we talk about today's giveaway, I wanted to also let you know there's another giveaway on the channel for one of Paddletech's brand new GTOC paddles in my recent review of that release. If you haven't checked that video out, you definitely should, and be sure to enter that giveaway because those are some super fun paddles as well. As for the Carbon TruFoam Genesis 4 paddle giveaway, I'm super pumped to share that Carbon is letting me give one of these babies away for free. All you need to do is like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, Comment how often you play pickleball, and then fill out the Google form in the description so I have a way to contact you if you win. And that's it. I'll run the raffle in about a month, so be on the lookout for an email. Good luck. Finally, if you found this video helpful, please consider using promo code MatthewK on your next paddle purchase to help support the channel. I have a lot of the popular brands listed below, and my master list has even more, and I'll be sure to leave a link to Carbon's site at the very top. In addition to promo code MatthewK, promo code MatthewK10 will also work with them. You can also support the channel by purchasing some of the cool pickleball gear I've been testing out by using the links and codes in the video description below. I also have a link to my favorite pickleball gear you can get on Amazon down there as well, and that's got some really cool hidden gems you wouldn't expect. And then of course, hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel, and slamming that notification bell all go a long way to helping me out as well. Thank you so much for the support. But most importantly, I hope you get to pickle soon, and just don't forget, it's about having fun.